Hey, Carol, can you
Yeah.
go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me about your background?
Hi, yes. So, Carol Katz, I'm currently the general manager at West Wagon of Fairfield here in California. A little bit about my background. I started in the automotive industry back in 2005, working at an auto parts store. Honestly, little did I know that this is where all of this was going to lead, but I was trying to go to school to be a nurse and then decided that's not what I wanted to do. So I got into this auto parts store, moved up pretty quick there from an associate to an assistant manager. And then one of the general managers at the first dealership that I worked for approached me, and he thought I would be a great salesperson. So, he asked me to give it a shot. So I did. At the time, I was working both jobs. I wasn't 100% sure, what I wanted to do. So I was still working at a parts store, and I was selling cars, and I loved it. It was my first experience selling cars, and it was great. Um, it was different. There was a lot of learning experiences. I was the only female salesperson there, so it really taught me a lot about the industry. From there, I moved to a Toyota store to do sales as well. I was ready for something different. Loved it. I think the Toyota store tuned to be a home for me for about 10 years. So it was an amazing experience. I switched from sales to service in 2008. Um, the market crashed and I needed something more stable, for me and my kids and my family at the time. So switched over to service and I completely fell in love with the service side of the business. It was just amazing to see the amount of things that could be accomplished. A lot of growth there. From that point, I had a couple of other positions. I was ready for a larger store, moved to a larger store, and from there to a service manager position, which was what I thought was my ultimate goal, right? To become a service manager. And I think the service manager position taught me a lot. Uh, Definitely from every aspect on how to handle situations, to growing myself, to believing in myself. I did try to leave the industry. Uh, After I was a service manager, I thought I was ready to get out. And, I think I was out for about 8 months, got my real estate license, was selling homes, and got sucked right back into the industry.
It does
Um,
that, doesn't it? You
it
think
does.
you're out and then you're right back in.
I have so many people tell me that you just can't leave, and I truly believe it now. Once you're in it, you can't get out. So I went to work with X-Time, Cox Automotive as a performance manager, dealer performance specialist, and it was incredible. I got to work with over 200 dealerships, really learn, the good, the bad, everything in between, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, build some amazing relationships. And that's where the Champ Automotive Group comes into place. They were part of my group. At the time, the VP of operations, Michael Dunlop, spent roughly 8 months trying to recruit me. And I finally said yes. And it's been an amazing journey. So went over to them as a corporate trainer, eventually moved up to be the fixed operations director and overseeing the business development center for service. And I feel like I was ready for my next step. So once we said, we have the new point approved in California as a Volkswagen store, I put in my application to be a GM, and here I am.
Is it? I don't think it's common that often that you have GMs who have worked on both sides, right? Normally, GMs, you see them just come up through the sales side, but you also have quite a bit of fixed experience too. So how does how does your perception on how the dealership is performing change because you've worked on both sides of the house?
I think it's a great perspective to bring to the table, and you're right. There's no many GMs out there that come from the tech side. Majority of the GMs that I have even came across my life, have always have a sales manager experience, finance experience, but not many of them had that fixed background. And I think it's so important to not be close-minded about that, because when you look at fixed is what pays all the bills, right? So fixed is what keeps everything else running. So having that background and being able to grow and develop the fixed side of business is so huge in growing the business as a whole. Um, Not just that, but the understanding service parts wholesale. You're coming into learning more about sales and finance, but you already have this whole background on how these other two sections operate and the way that it works. So it's I think it's something that the industry right now is being more open-minded to. I have seen a few more GMs that have come from a fixed background, and it's great to see, because it really makes an impact on the business and getting to the point of being profitable.
Yeah, I was going to ask, since there is a lot more revenue generated from the fixed side, do you think that there will be an increased trend for other dealers to seek out GMs who have that mix of both sales and fixed ops in their background?
Yes, I think the automotive industry is changing as a whole.
Totally.
I feel like, years ago, and I'm probably going back, 8, 10 years, but they used to seek for GSM, or top performing finance manager, or just strictly sales related and more about sales than leadership. And I think in the last 8 years, it's really changing to, you have to have a good leader in place. You have to have someone that is not just going to be able to grow sales. You got to be able to grow your department heads, grow your team, have culture where, your employees are happy and so your customers are happy, build something different. Anybody can sell something, right? But so how can you grow those leadership skills and grow your people? And I think that has changed a lot on the way that, business owners are looking at this position now.
Do you think that change kind of came about in that, like, the whole 20 or 2008, 2009 chaos, that the industry wasn't necessarily seeing the volume that was expected come through on sales, that there needed to be more emphasis elsewhere in the business?
I think that did make, trigger something in there about that. Absolutely. I think, you really start paying attention to what FX does, right? And paying attention to how to drive business there and how if they work together, it really makes an impact. I really think though that the biggest thing, like in the last 5 years or so, and this might be like coming up to, pre-COVID and after COVID, it's really, you know, you having to adapt and change a lot of things. And there's just so much that you can do on the fixed side and so much more opportunity to see more customers than we do on fixed, that we do on the sales side. So why not, have someone that can nurture that?
I think that's a great transition point. So let's talk about some of the trends that we've seen in the auto industry over the last 5 years. I mean, you had mentioned COVID, which had major impacts on supply chain. Do you think that with some of the consolidation that's happened among part suppliers and everything else, that you're back to normal or in a better spot to be able to service your customers on both sides of the house?
I wouldn't necessarily say we're back to normal, but it's better. It's a lot better, right? I don't know that we ever like truly get back to normal, right? I think there's a new normal. But I think just it has improved, and like the back order parts and things like that on the parts side of business, right? Even on the chips for new cars, we just had to adapt, and I think that's the biggest thing. There's, if you can change it and you can control it, how can you adapt to it? What can you do different? If you no longer can get a car that has seat warmers because of a chip that we don't have, then how do you overcome that? What are the different things that you can do? So I think it's better. I don't think, I think it's a new normal that we have to adjust to and adapt to it. I do think it's going to, continue to get better. The way that it's trending right now.
So let's talk about another trend that has been, in my mind, a little problematic when it comes to buying anything, just the consumer behavior and interest rates. How has that impacted sales of both new and used, as well as fixed on people holding on to their vehicles longer?
Well, so I think it's, two steps on that. We do have the customers that are holding on to the vehicles longer. At the same time, it said, some of these vehicles are coming up with a lot of repairs, a lot of money that has to be spent. And not every customer has that money right now. So, I think it's being smart and staying on top of those customers and evaluating their options and being transparent about, what we can do to help them. So it's not just about trying to get a sale, right? So if we're trying to help a customer that has a $9,000 repair, they're like, it has to be done. It's something with engine failure. Let's figure out how to get them into a vehicle to where their close payment, where they need to be at, and give them the options. I think right now, more important than ever is making sure that the customer knows that they have options and what those options are, and being able to, talk to different banks or lenders, figure out, the different rates or terms or whatever the case may be to make it work for the customer, and being transparent about that. Um, I think it's super important to make sure that the customer knows that it's not our decision, right? A lot of time, if you don't explain that, they're just thinking that it's you telling them, sorry, I couldn't get you to this without this, but it's like, this is the lender's decision. I'm here to assist you and help you get where you need to be, but this is what they're telling me. I'm trying to help you out over here.
So another point on that, and this is more for my curiosity, are you seeing an increase in people leasing vehicles because of the interest rates?
You know, yes, I think, that we see a lot of leases currently. But we also see quite a few, cash deals. So I think it's a pretty decent mix right now. I think customers are definitely looking for the best deal out there, whatever that is for the finances. And if it makes sense for them to do a lease, that they're going for that. But I see a lot of people really exploring the options and trying to understand what's best for them and what benefits them the most. I don't think a lot of people out there fully understand leads, and so once you start talking to them about it, and if we feel that it's a good option for them, bringing it up, and then they understand that it's like, oh, okay, this can actually work out for me.
Yeah, I mean, coming from a family where my wife feels like she needs a new car every couple of years, it's more of an option that I'm exploring for us, for her, versus, me being in my truck that will last me a few 100,000 miles.
Yes, 100%. And it makes sense on, like, if it's something like that, right? If you're changing a vehicle every 2 to 3 years, it makes sense, right? To,
Sure.
to do something like this, versus if you're someone that, you had your last car for 9 years and you only trade in it because it needs a $5,000 repair. So at that point, that's a different option, right? But I think it's knowing what the options are there that makes a difference.
Totally. So let's talk about one other trend right now that, it's been big news. Let's talk about some cybersecurity and the whole CDK thing. Can you tell me more about how you think this will trend forward as there is more emphasis from dealers on security around their organizations and their data?
It's crazy that, everything that happened with CDK, and it's unfortunate. Like, I really don't wish that for anyone. It's not a fun thing to go through. We're lucky enough to be in dealer track that we didn't have to go through that. But I think it's something that, cyber attacks have been going on now for a while. Maybe they just haven't hit the automotive industry this big, but I feel like in the last 7, 8 years, it's just been increasing over and over and over. So I would say, from my dealer group, we have always been huge on cybersecurity, and I think it's something that all the dealerships, not just the big brands of Cox Automotive or anything like that, just the dealerships themselves have to own these. And, they have to take their own cautions on, how to make sure that this doesn't happen. And just to give you an example, or IT manager, like anything and everything that we do on our computers or whatever the case may be, everything has to go through our IT team. Even if it's a software update, it has to go through our IT team. And I know sometimes it can be like, oh my God, I'm just trying to get this through. Like, why can't I just update this? And it's like, these are the reasons why. I think, there are bad people out there looking for an opportunity to take advantage of, somebody doing something wrong, somebody clicking something, like, or team sends out all kinds of emails all the time, kind of testing us to see, who's going to click on something, who's not paying attention, ongoing training on what to look for, what to be cautious of, what you shouldn't be expecting, what you should be expecting. So I think it's going to definitely cause a lot of dealerships and overall vendors to be more strict on the way that they do business. I think overall is going to be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, what happened wasn't good, but it's going to drive a lot of good changes to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But it's really about awareness, and paying attention and knowing, you know, having a team that's actually protecting the company and looking for these things is super important.
Yeah. Do you think the CDK attack will be a catalyst for more tech-enabled dealers since, historically auto dealerships aren't necessarily the cutting edge type when it comes to technology?
Yes, I mean, I think it's if they were able to do it with CDK, which is one of the largest ones out there, I'm sure the man is just trying to figure out who else, had that same kind of technology or similar technology, or that haven't upgraded the systems. And definitely, I think if other companies out there are not out there trying to figure out how to make everything more secure right now, it would be crazy. But yeah, I definitely think that they're going to go after more.
I would agree. I think that it's since it is an industry that right they spend so much money putting technology into automobiles, but the dealership, largely, I'm going to sound bad for saying this, or more old school sales people type that are going to pick up a phone and make a conversation, have a conversation with you, and may not emphasize or prioritize some of the security measures that your IT team would prefer that you have.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy because we have, vendors that we work with when we're trying to set up something, they're just like, there's so many things that they have to go through with our team, and there's so many things that they want to access that we're like, all right, you get access to this, which is what you need, but we're not going to give you access to all of this because you don't need to have that. And they're really like, why can't we have these things? And it's like, we very, very protective. And when you see something like this happen with CDK, it's almost like a reality check of this is what we do, this is why we do the things the way that we do them. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm glad that you guys weren't impacted by that because I'm curious how people were doing deals with that. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to someone who was on CDK yet, but I'll let you know when I hear back.
Yeah, please do. It's funny because I had people asking me, like if we had customers calling in saying something, and we didn't come across anybody. I think people in the automotive industry were very aware of it, obviously, but from the consumer standpoint, if you were not in a CDK store that you have to set something to your customer, like I didn't get a lot of feedback from customers on my end as far as service or sales. for that matter. So it's just very interesting. Like I said, I think because it's happened in so many other industries, it's not necessarily something new to people. As but they are aware that it's happening in different industries now.
Yeah, I think that I get some sort of mailer every 3 months saying my security with X company was compromised and this is the potential impact of it.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, I should have a cumulative lifetime of my information being protected from being hacked so many times.
No kidding. It's everywhere, and I think that's why I'm saying, like, from the consumer standpoint, they're seeing it from so many different industries that this is more new to the automotive industry and at a larger scale. You know, that is really like, okay, like, people they're looking at that to figure out what they can get into, and here we are.
Yep. Yeah, I think as a consumer, I'm almost desensitized to it, right? I get one of those mailers now and be like, okay, well, where did it come from? Like who who had my data before it was compromised and what actions do I need to take on my side to ensure that I'm continue to be protected or do I need to do anything different?
Yeah, and there's, like you said, there's so many of them now. You hear about it from so many different places. Like I think even my computer, if you type in a password, it would tell you this password has been compromised somewhere. And it's like, okay, hey, it's all over now. So I think it's gonna trigger people to just be more careful as well with what they're doing it. Who they're giving the data to and all that.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm less apt to do a lot of things on certain like mobile device. If you're asking for my social, regardless if it's something that I prompted, I won't do it on mobile device. I will do it on like an actual laptop, and oftentimes I'll use a VPN, and that may just be my personal paranoia. I know that everybody's different, but I think that there's certain ways that I'd like to try to protect my data the best that I can, and that those are some of the methods that I use to protect me.
Definitely. I'm a I'm really big on all of these. I was maliciously hacked back in 2019, so I am extra careful with everything. Like, I don't click or anything, I don't access anything, I don't, like, even if it's something that looks like real, I sent it to my IT manager and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? He'll be like, yeah, that's actually safe. You can click on it. I'm like, okay. But I think overall people, consumers, everybody's being more careful. Because it's everywhere. I think it's happened a lot with banks. I just had a friend last week that, everything was locked down. She couldn't get access to any of her money or anything because the bank was compromised, and it's just everywhere. They're out there trying to figure out who hasn't put anything in place to make sure that this doesn't happen, and it's going to be a painful experience to learn from.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we're getting good guys at the same rate as we're getting bad guys to fix or prevent these sorts of issues. Um,
100%.
and there's nothing we can really do about it. We're just kind of stuck in the middle, hoping that what we do to protect ourselves is the best that we can do.
Yep, 100%.
So let's change the topic up a little bit. So tell me how your dealership kind of differs from the other dealerships. What are you doing differently in your market as a GM versus some of the other dealers in your area?
I think I have a pretty, unique opportunity coming out here. So my Volkswagen store is a new point. So it's a brand new dealership that we opened in June 2023. And so with a new point, there's a lot to come with, right? So I think the number one thing is I had the opportunity to build my team from the beginning. So build my leadership team with my leadership team, build the teams, just bring the people that we knew were going to be a great cultural fit, that were going to match our core values and what we're trying to accomplish, and then providing the training if they needed training or whatnot. But having the opportunity to bring the right people in on these leadership seats was super important to me. Um, and just to be successful or opening a brand new store. So uh, that was a pretty amazing experience. I think that, having a team of people that really are looking towards the same goal and on the same mindset of this is a brand new store and we're going to have to work 10 times harder than any other store out there because we need to get it off the ground. Right. So, we just celebrated a 1 year anniversary last month. We have been open for a year, and we're pressing towards a record on sales this month, and it's pretty amazing to see these things happen. And I think it really is the teamwork and everybody being on the mindset of we we're not going to be the new kids on the block, like we knew, but that's not who we're going to be. So I think what I'm doing different here is I have a relationship with my leadership team, my managers on, we're going to grow people, making sure that we have a good culture, making sure that we follow our processes, um, being open-minded on ideas. We have a group of very smart people, not just my leadership team, but everybody in the dealership. So everybody really shares ideas on different ways to grow our business. Let's put a wash card on, West Wagon so they can just get to come into the store and see that we're here. Let's, and on our downtime, go out and put postcards on cars that we service all makes and models. Like, we just doing everything that we can to think outside the box to get to the point where people know that we're here. Our
Sure.
biggest challenge is we still, we've been here for a year, but a lot of people still don't know that we're here. So it's getting the word that we hear. I'm very, very involved in the community, which I think really makes an impact. And I feel like a lot of dealerships getting too much into the, yes, we need to sell cars, we need to service cars, we need to be profitable. But what are you doing for the community, to engage them, for them to know that you're there, for them to say, word of mouth, hey, this Volkswagen was here and they were supporting this cause, and that person is going to be like, great, I'm going to buy my car from them because, they're supporting this cause and that's very important to me, whatever the case may be. So really being involved in the community, and, letting them know that we're here for the community, growing jobs, bringing in vehicles, sales and service, and offering a different experience than what they have been offering in the past.
Would would that be something that you would suggest to somebody else in a similar position, that you need to make a point to position yourself in the community that you're servicing?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think it's super important. Especially when I would say anytime, but like, having a brand new dealership or if you use a buy sale or something like that, you definitely want you people in the community that you're there. And, you want to show them that, the different things that you're going to help with, the different things that you can do, the experience that you offer. We're a one price store and we share a philosophy of being transparent with the customers. And that has always been a challenge in the automotive industry. Customers just don't feel that you're being transparent with them on sales and service. So being showing them that we're transparent in service, you get a video on every car, you decide what you want to fix on your car, we're showing you, you made the decision. On sales, we're going to give everybody the same price. I don't care who you are, who you work for, what you do, you're going to get the same price as he or she will get the same price. So I think, for them to know, the community to know who you are and then pass the word is super important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that there are dealerships all over the states that focus too much on just making sure that they're selling vehicles or servicing them, and not enough on the community that they're actually servicing.
Yes, yes, 100%.
So let's get into kind of the next topic. So if you had a super green salesperson come in and interview with you and said, I want to have your job in 15 years or 10 years, what does my development need to look like to get there? what advice would you give them? How would you set that up for them and talk them through that process?
I think my advice to them would be, two things. One, to be open-minded, um, to constructive feedback, and to positive feedback. And you're gonna have to give it 110%. You know, I think that there's so much that you can do in this industry, but you it goes both ways. Like, you have to give it, you have to be 110%, you have to be passionate about it, you have to want it to be able to get to that point. And I think that's where the constructive feedback part comes, because I will encourage this person to take every piece of training that they can, to find mentors. If there's two, three people that you look up to that, have done this, find them as mentors, work with them. They will teach you, they will coach you, but there's so much constructive feedback that comes with that. And people don't do well with constructive feedback. And I think that if you can overcome that and you can take the constructive feedback and apply it and grow from it, the opportunities are endless. There's just so much more that you can do and so much more that you can grow, as long as you are being open-minded to doing that.
Totally. I think that there's two other trends that through our conversation that I've noticed from you that I think would also be great for you to suggest to someone also is one, always be learning, continuously learn. And then the other one is don't say no to an opportunity. You had someone come to you out of the blue and say, hey, you should try this. And you said, okay, I'll give it a try. And look at you now.
100%. And that's the open-minded part, right? Like, just if you're the smartest person in the room, there's something wrong. Like, you gotta look at everybody and be able to pick up on everybody's idea. And if somebody's encouraging you to doing something a different way, on a new way to do it, why not? Like, the only thing you're gonna do from that point is grow and get to the next level. But if you take it as, well, my idea was better, or the way I'm doing it is fine, without even like looking at these other options, then you're stuck. You're really not going to be able to get to the next level. And most importantly, when you are in the early stages of really, trying to figure out where you want to go and how you're going to get there, super important.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing from like my perspective throughout my career is just making mistakes, right? That's the biggest learning opportunity for anybody is make a mistake and see how somebody learns from it, making sure that you're learning from the mistakes that you're making and making those learnings very quick.
Yes, I would say along with that, learning from your mistakes is understanding that you're human. I'm a perfectionist at heart, and anytime I make a mistake, it took me a long time to really pick myself back up and don't beat myself over it, and just like, what, this happened, this is what I learned from it, this is how this will not happen again. But then get back up and keep going. Don't sit there and just dwell over what happened. Like, once again, control what you can control. It's past, it's done, it's over. You have no control over that. What can you do moving forward? And don't stay thinking about, just think about what went wrong, what you need to do, what's not going to happen again. But don't just stay there and not get back on your feet because you're still thinking about the mistake and what happened.
100%, 100%. So what is the worst piece of professional advice you've ever gotten?
I think when I was asked to push back on something that I was against, basically just it's not worth it. Just you need to go back on these. I'm a person that truly believes on, if I have an opinion, I'm gonna express it. Um, if I disagree with something, I'm going to express that. Doesn't mean that things have to go my way, but I'm going to express the way I feel about something, and I'm going to be prepared to back up what I'm saying. And it's just about, making sure that what I gotta say is being heard. Once again, I don't go into conversations expecting things to go my way or change in any other way. But if I truly believe that something needs to be said, I'm gonna say. And I think in so many rooms that can come across in so many different ways. But to me, is I'm always gonna speak up. I'm gonna speak up for what's right, for what's wrong, and everything in between. So I want to encourage people to say what they're thinking. If I'm having a conversation with someone and I can see that they're kind of like, you can tell they wanted to say something, but they're not saying it, I'm not just going to move on. I'm going to be like, just, if you got something to say it. Like, why are you holding this inside you? Let's let it out, talk about it. We should be able to have healthy debates where we can have conversations about things and it doesn't turn into a fight or she said, he said type of thing.
But oftentimes, I think that that's challenging, especially with leaders and subordinates, that they see you as a leader and may not necessarily challenge you in the way that you should be, because that helps us grow too, is to understand the other perspective here that we don't necessarily see. So having somebody push back and maybe even having an uncomfortable conversation as a leader is important.
Yes, no, it's you 100% right on that. I mean, I think even more important when you like leader to leader having this conversation and challenging and having these questions is even more important because you have to be open to see things from a different perspective. It's not like you're looking at things and this is the box, this is what I see, and what about what people see outside the box, the big picture of everything, and that's the thing that people are going to have different perspective, different opinions on things. But if you're presenting things in a respectful manner and you having the conversation about what you see and how they see it, and perhaps you're able to understand the perspective better, both of them win at the end of the day. Like you learn a new way of looking at things. Maybe you still disagree with this, but you know what? This makes sense. This is the way that this is the story behind it, whatever the case may be. Or maybe you still disagree with it, but you know why. You understand what's happening.
Right. Yeah, you understand better where they're coming from, and that just being open to that perspective, I think, really shows qualities of a leader. There are times so often that people just immediately either shut down sharing their perceptions of something, or they don't think leaders will listen to it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great trait, is just being open and willing to have the conversation regardless of the outcome.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I think that's it's important on every level. I tell my entire store, not just my leaders, but my employees. I'm like, this is, I have an open door policy, and I want you to talk to your manager. I want you to have that relationship with them. But if you want to come talk to me, and whatever the case may be, or as a one of my managers, you questioning something and you understand a decision that I made, come to me. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure that we're both on the same page about things, and it helps both sides to know how to handle that situation in the future as well. They have to have it with somebody else.
Yep, 100%. 100%. All right. So, last thing of the podcast is I'm going to give you 90 seconds to pitch either yourself or your dealership or something that just interests you. So, when you're ready, go for it.
I think, more than the pitch being about, myself or the dealership, I want to make it about, growing yourself. So to anybody that is listening, is growing yourself to the next level, and what it takes to do that. And, during my career, there was a lot of learning experiences where I got to a point where I was too hard on myself and I wasn't believing in myself because of mistakes and things that had happened. And it took, having a mentor pull me out of that and showing me, like this is who you are, this is what you're capable of, and then me wanting to, you know, get back into that and realizing what I'm doing. This is what I'm capable of. This is what I'm going to do. This is how much I can grow. These are my goals, my ambitions, my dreams. And I think more often than not, we get stuck on that. We make a mistake and we feel that this is the end. I'm not going to be able to recover for this. People are going to think that. People are going to think this, and you don't. You kind of put the shell over you, and I think that you get out of the shelf, you're not going to be able to grow yourself and get to the next level. And you stop, and the dream stops there, and you settle for where you are. And I think I would really encourage people to, if you made a mistake, if something happened, it doesn't matter how big or small it was, put it behind.
Love that.
What did you learn from that lesson, and move on to the next step. Find yourself a mentor. I talk so much about mentors, and I have had some incredible mentors in my life, and in the last 5 6 years, that the two mentors that I had really made a huge difference in my life. And a lot of the growth that I had is because I had these mentors believe in me. I listened to them. I listened to the constructive feedback. There was the wins, there was the losses, there was everything in between that it really shaped me into the person that I am. And, if you don't have a mentor, if you don't even know where to start, like, is anybody that you look up to, right? Anybody that you see that's done the right thing, that said the right thing, look up to them, talk to them, ask them for advice. It's not like there's a mentor application out there, and you're going, it's like, but there's people everywhere doing the right thing and being leaders and helping other people grow. And it really makes a difference to surround yourself with people that want what's best for you and that want you to grow and that are going to help you to get to that point, as long as you're going to be giving that as well. You're going to give it 100%. You're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to leave behind what doesn't serve you anymore and just keep the things that are going to help you and nourish you. And then once you have that, pass that on. Don't keep it to yourself, right? So, that's one thing I'm trying to do right now with my team. I want to grow. I give them books to read. I do the things that my mentor did for me that helped me get to the next level, because we should be in this to win. And if you just wanted to win and just me, like, yeah, that's great, but like, how fulfilling is that? Once you're at that level and you can help others, do it. Help other people get to the next level. Like that, you will feel so much more fulfilled if you do that.
Totally. What is the one book that you thought was most influential in your career for growth or perspective or mindset?
That I would tell you that's the emotional intelligence. Uh, that's EQ2. So that's this book right here. I have a few here I given to my employees. But here's the thing about this book. A lot of things have to do with our emotional responses to things. And well, you might think that you're upset, but you're actually frustrated. And there's a big difference in between being upset and frustrated. And it's that book changed my life. Michael Dunlop was one of my mentors. He gave that to me when I started working with the Champ Automotive Group. And it's funny because it's not a book that you just sit there and read the whole book. You take a test and then it tells you what pages to look at, and then you work on those things. But it's a game changer. It's
Oh,
that book completely changed my life and the way I look at things. It's incredible what it does to you and how much you can learn about yourself by doing that.
I'll have to add that to the library. I'm
It's
trying to go through
incredible.
some of the more influential business books right now, and that
Yeah.
is not one that's come across my radar yet. Well, we're at time. I really appreciate you taking time out of your Monday to have this conversation.